I love Cyberpunk 2077. Now I know that statement is probably going to invite a lot of hate here on the internet, but it's true. I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing this game. I've done 2 full playthroughs, I'm planning a 3rd playthrough, and honestly, it's just one of my favourite games that's been released in the last few years. But I do have a laundry list of things I wasn't happy with and, would like to see changed. So that's what this video is. It's me complaining about Cyberpunk 2077 a lot. Now before I start, I must stress that whilst I will be complaining in this video quite a lot, the aim is actually a positive one. I'm not just trying to pour hate on for the sake of it. I'm going to be providing pointers, hints, suggestions as to how I believe it should have been handled at the same time as critiquing something. So this is supposed to be a video that makes a good game a better game. So having said that, let's begin. I really enjoyed the main quest in Cyberpunk 2077. I thought the story was great, I loved the characters, the interactions, the dialogue, I loved the atmosphere, and all round I can say I do think the main quest is great. However, I have to say the pacing of the main quest is not good in an open world game. And what I mean by that is, ordinarily in an open world game, the main quest slowly ramps up. It's obviously something important, you usually know you have something to do, but it can be somewhat off in the future. It's something important that you've got to do, you've got to build up to it, you've got to find out some things, acquire some help or some items, and you slowly build up towards a sort of critical point. And before that critical point you can do lots of other things. You can explore, you can do side quests, you can just have a little fun, and you don't feel like you're putting any strain on the narrative. There does come a point in most games' main quest where things have started to, speed up, and the main quest more or less demands you give it attention right now, and there becomes a point where agreeing to help someone get their cat out of a tree feels a little stupid, yeah? That's what happens in most games. Unfortunately, Cyberpunk 2077 reaches that point very early on in the game. In fact, it reaches that point before it opens up the city for your exploration. You're restricted to 1 district. This city has 6 districts plus the Badlands. You can't explore or experience any of that until the main quest has reached this point where it is going to dominate the narrative. Now I want to avoid spoilers in this video, so I can't discuss the details of the main quest and what I would have done differently. I'm going to save that for a completely separate video. All I can really say in this video is that whilst I did manage to do some stuff outside of the main quest, I usually felt a little stressed doing it. I felt like I was pushing the narrative a bit too much, I was stretching it somewhat thin, and that I could never truly relax and just go with the flow and enjoy, just cruising around Night City, looking for stuff, for example, just exploring. I never really felt comfortable doing that. I will also add, even before the critical point, it was kind of annoying that certain characters in game would say, oh alright then, I'll meet you at such and such a place, I'll head there now, don't be long. And you're like, no, I want to go off and do all that, I'm going to be days, don't be waiting on that street corner for me, and you can't. And so they're there. There's no, the game could have benefited from a little less stress time wise. It could have benefited from some longer gaps between quest stages, but it would also have benefited from the option for the player to take a little agency and say to NPCs, no, don't set up that meeting now, I will phone you, I will contact you when I'm ready, then you can set up the meeting. So you didn't feel like an idiot. I mean, it's alright in a fantasy game if someone sends you a message and says, meet me in Solitude, and you turn up 4 days later. But in Night City, if someone sends you a message saying, I've set up a meeting with this critically important person for 2 hours and you turn up 4 days late, you can hardly stand there and say, sorry about that, traffic was a bugger. Well, you can, but if you do and the person isn't sat there surrounded by fast food wrappers and 4 days of growth on their face looking real cranky, it kind of breaks the narrative a little, yeah? Side jobs and fixer gigs. Side jobs are what you would normally think of as your standard side quests. Some of them are short, some of them are long, some of them are funny, some of them are dark and a little depressing. Some of them involve tons and tons of dialogue, making choices. Some of them involve combat. It runs the entire range of side quests. And generally speaking, absolutely brilliant. Love the stories, love the atmosphere, love the characters, the dialogue, etc. Then you have gigs. These are the little side quests you pick up from the fixers as you travel around Night City. These tend to be shorter than the side jobs, they're a little more focused, involve less dialogue, that sort of thing. In fact, usually what happens is you're wandering around, you get close to an area, the fixer contacts you and says, hey, please go here and murder everyone, or please go here and rescue someone or steal something, and you just travel about 10 seconds because you're already there. You get the job done, you leave, and as you leave you get a message from the fixer saying, well done, here's your payment. They feel a little bit like the sort of filler content you might discover as you were travelling, say in a game like Skyrim. You know, you'd come across a cave, and outside the cave there was a tent, and a journal in the tent said, I, Master Adventurer, am heading off into that cave to find what loot there is there. And a quest pops up in your journal saying, go into cave and investigate and see what happened to the adventurer and take all the loot. That sort of thing. It's not a major quest line. You didn't necessarily go there deliberately. You just found something interesting and now you want to go off and probably murder lots of things and loot stuff, yeah? The side jobs have more story, more narrative. The gigs, more of an opportunity to just exercise some of your skills, have a bit of fun and acquire loot. So what's the problem? Well, the side jobs get revealed to you over time. They almost always seem to appear at certain points in the main quest. You get certain things done and all of a sudden new side quests open up. The gigs, on the other hand, are pretty much filling the map from the moment you open up the districts. And I don't think that's a good idea. I actually think these gigs should not appear on the map all at once. They should appear slowly over time as you get more street cred, so that the map initially looks a little emptier and you've got some of your main quests, maybe one or two of your side quests, and perhaps one or two gigs, so that the content seems to be spread more evenly across the different types, the main quest, the story-driven side quests, and the, slightly less narrative-driven gigs. In fact, I would actually argue you could hold off putting any gigs on the map until you've either visited the fixer or called them. And each time you visit or call, they give you an option. Okay, what sort of job are you looking for? Are you looking for a thieving job? Are you looking for a hit job? Because if you're playing the sort of character who doesn't care about hit jobs, hitman jobs, there's no need to have them on the map in the first place. If you did it that way, the spread of main quest, side jobs, and gigs would feel more even, and you would experience different aspects of the game simultaneously. Whereas I feel a lot of players, myself included, get this urge when they look at a map like this to go and visit all of these gigs one after another. And if you do that, you're going to be experiencing these less narrative driven, far more grindy encounters way before you discover the really good side jobs, the stuff with a lot of great dialogue and stories. And that gives you the wrong first impression, and not a good first impression either. One small side complaint related to the side quests is the way they're represented on the map. The fact that they're all yellow exclamation marks or yellow question marks. First of all, I would quite like the option we had in Witcher 3 to turn off the question marks on the map until you get close to them and actually discover them. Obviously, this doesn't apply to things where you're contacted or you've read an email that's given you a hint. If something gives you a hint that something is there and it appears, that's great. But a lot of things just seem to be plonked straight on the map right at the start, no explanation. And it does remove some of the excitement of discovery for me. Obviously, that should be an option. Some people do like it to be on all the time. It would also be nice if there was a different colour for side jobs and gigs so that you can clearly see the difference between the two on the map. You can see this is a fixer job. That would be nice, I think. It would help differentiate between the two. And please, can we have a different icon for the cars? Could we please have a different icon for the cars and the option to actually turn off and on certain things, not just a filter. I don't want to just filter for one type of thing. Specifically, what I want to do is filter out certain things. Maybe I don't want thievery jobs because I suck at thievery, and I don't want cars because I've got more important things to spend my money on. That's a small side complaint. Crimes in progress. This is actually another sort of side quest, I guess. Perhaps a better description would be random encounter. They're not random, they are actually handcrafted encounters, but they're usually more or less a bit of combat followed by a little bit of looting and some reading of a few notes so that you can discover what happened there. I see no reason why they are all on the map from the very start of the game. Partly for the same reason I expressed in the side quests. It makes the game feel like the filler content is all the content, but it also makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, it does make sense that there are assaults going on all around the city at any one time, but the fact that the same assault has been going on for 3 weeks in one spot totally destroys the narrative. A far better system would be to have none of the crimes on the map until you get within scanner range. You get within scanner range, you hear the alert, it appears on your map, and then you have maybe 2 or 3 in-game hours to respond to that. If you don't, when you return, that assault will be gone. There will be dead bodies perhaps, there will be signs of the assault. There may even be the note that tells you what was going on, but there will be no bad guys to grind experience on and no loot. This will actually give you a good reason when driving around, you suddenly get an alert and you think, oh God, no, I'm going to stop that crime. And you jump out and, you do the whole I'm a vigilante thing and then loot everyone and be on your way. That would give you an excuse for doing that rather than doing what you might well do at the moment, which is drive past the assault and think, you know what, I'm a bit busy at the moment. I did say I was going to meet this person. I'll go do this task and then I'll be back this way tomorrow. I'll sort that crime out tomorrow. I'm sure it will still be going on. It really, it makes no sense for them to be on the map this entire time. I'm not even asking you have them randomly spawn or, keep them handcrafted in these places. So if you know the game well, you know where they all are. Just don't have them on the map. Only have them appear when you get close and have them disappear if you don't deal with it soon enough. All it does is gives you the illusion that these crimes are happening spontaneously. But I want that illusion, thank you very much. Give me that illusion. Don't shatter it by having a crime occurring in one spot for 3.5 weeks. Factions. A lot of these jobs, a lot of these assaults in progress involve various different gangs throughout Night City. And you might end up killing about 1.5 million Maelstrom, 2 zillion 6th Street Gang, and every Tiger Claw you ever meet, and yet for some reason when they see you coming, they never seem to respond to this. It's just like completely ignore you. You walk into one of their bars, they're fine with it. It would have been nice if there had been some reflection in these various different gangs of the fact that you are the angel of death for them. It would have been even nicer if certain jobs stopped being available. Maybe there were certain jobs for the Tiger Claws, and maybe if you got in good with the Tiger Claws, they would give you more jobs, but obviously the other gangs would hate you. I do realise that would prevent you from doing every single solitary quest with one character, but honestly, I think this is the sort of game that would have been, you know, better for that. I think if I could have done one playthrough and become a friend of the Maelstrom or the friend of the animals, it would have had a very different feel to, you know, the time when I decide I'm going to become the enemy of every single gang, or the enemy of none. You know, it gives you some options. Think Fallout New Vegas. We've seen this done before. Obviously, having quest givers for each gang would require, you know, more work. I think it would be worth it. I think it would have been a ton of fun if we'd have had, like, leaders of different gangs, like Brick or Royce, and you could, in fact, if you had a good relationship with them, do extra quests for them. I think that would be absolutely brilliant. But even without that, just some faction system that recognises how many of their people you have killed and then has them react accordingly. If I walk into a Tiger Claw bar after killing 10,000 Tiger Claws, there should be no way I'm having a nice conversation with them. The Journal. Journals in role-playing games, and in games in general, are supposed to be there to remind you of things that you may have forgotten. They're things that you have written in the journal, or in the case of Cyberpunk, somebody else seems to have written for you, which does change things a little, I do understand, but it's supposed to be there to help you keep track of all of the things you've got going on at any one time. The journal in this game is occasionally close to useless at reminding me what on earth I've agreed to do, and then sometimes it positively spoon feeds me information that I'm not even totally sure I should know. For a journal to be useful to me, I need to be able to load up an old save, something I haven't played for a couple of weeks, look at a quest, and know exactly what is expected of me, who gave me the quest, what they were asking me to do, and more specifically, the success criteria, the objectives that will actually indicate I have done the quest. What I don't need is some vague flavour text that gives me a hint as to what the hell is going on, and an objective that essentially is the next step. It doesn't tell me what's going to happen once I get to these given coordinates. I mean, it's a crime. Am I murdering everyone once I get there? Am I arresting someone? Am I discovering some evidence? Am I doing all of those? What am I doing once I get there? What will I be doing before the quest says, yes, you have succeeded, well done? You can get quests like this where it'll say go to the coordinates or go to the hotel, and you'll go there and then you'll enter the hotel and it'll say go to elevator, and you go to the elevator, and then it'll say go to penthouse, so you press the penthouse suite level, and then it'll say enter apartment. Then it'll change to grab data shard, and you'll think, oh right, I was stealing a data shard, that's right, okay, I'm gonna steal the data shard. And then it says get back in elevator. Fine, I'll get back in the elevator. Press button to get to ground floor. On the ground floor. Leave hotel. And I know some of you are thinking, you're exaggerating a bit. No, I'm not. I'm really not. There are quests that are just like that. And it's, to be honest with you, that's not a journal. That's an internet walkthrough. When it comes to journals, don't tell me what to do, tell me what I know. Now, it may be that I know I have to go to a castle and kill a vampire. I know that I have to do that, yeah? So you can tell me that I have to do that because I know I have to do that. Do not tell me to remember to put my armor on. Do not tell me to remember to take holy water. Do not remember to tell me to tie my shoelaces. I don't need that level of detail. I don't need reminding of that. Tell me about the vampire. Tell me about the castle. Give me a long description of it if you want. If you want to fill in details, that's great. Fill in the details of the conversation I had. Fill in the things I've achieved. If I've got to the castle. If I've initially met the vampire but then lost the vampire and need to find him again. You can reflect all of that in the journal. Yeah? Be a journal. Don't be my mother. Okay, so those are the main 5 things that kind of irked me about this game. The things that I think could be tweaked and changed fairly easily to make this game a lot better. These are the sort of things that could actually be fixed by mod makers as well. So these are the primary things. And again, I will stress, for all the fact that these things irked me, and I may sound like I'm raging against them, because I am. I rage against these individual little things. That did not prevent me from enjoying the game. I did thoroughly enjoy the game. But I still do have a few more things. They're a little bit more minor, but they're worth mentioning, I think. Phone calls. Why is there a key to answer phone calls? I mean, what is the actual point of a key to answer phone calls if you've got no choice but to answer every call that is made to you? If it just happens automatically, why bother? And obviously, I'm not actually asking for the call button to be removed. What I'm asking is, why can't I ignore certain calls? Why can I not just ignore someone and they send me a message saying, please phone me, and then I phone them back when I want to? That alone would save me some sanity, but it would also, believe it or not, help with some of the pacing issues. If I could just say, oh no, I'll call him later, I think I know what he wants and I don't want to talk to him because I know he's going to say, I'll meet you at such and such a place and I'll give him a ring, I'll ring him in the morning, right? Just let me answer the phone. Let me put them on voicemail. Please. Also, another small side issue here. When the call comes in, can you not have the giant box thing appear at the centre of the screen if I'm driving? It's not exactly the safest moment to have the entire centre of the screen obscured so I can't see what I'm about to ram. Oh, and of course that does bring up driving. Why can't we just have auto drive? We know we can call the car and the car will find us. Why can't we just get in the car and say to the car, oh, just take me to such and such a destination, and then basically be a passenger? I mean, we can do that at various times in the game. We know the game has the mechanics for that because we sit in the passenger seat as a passenger. Why can't I do that all the time? That would be really nice, actually, if I could just set the destination and then while I'm going there, wander through my inventory and do all sorts of other things, or just look out of the window and do stuff. Small thing, I just feel like it would be, I don't know, beneficial. Side note, you can turn the minimap off in the options. Could we have a setting that lets the minimap go off when you're not driving, but on when you're driving? Because that's when it would be the most useful. In fact, no, scrap that. Can we have a GPS system like we had in Rage 2, where it's a heads-up display system that actually puts the arrows on the road so you can see them? The sort of system you've got in Cyberpunk 2077 already if you do a certain racing quest? Because that would be very useful when driving, and you've already got it in-game. When in dialogue, can we have a slightly better indication of what the player character is actually going to say? I mean, this is a problem in quite a few games, but sometimes I would pick an option and it would say something that I really did not want to say, or would say it in a manner I didn't want to say it. So just a bit more verbose dialogue text, perhaps even a hint of the emotion projected. So if I'm going to project anger or disdain or disgust in my voice. Perhaps some indication would be nice. Can we get a haircut? Maybe a shave? Change of makeup? I mean, really, in this game, I should have been able to change the colour of my skin. I should have been able to, have a second nose put on if I wanted. Should have been able to have completely chromed arms. There should have been so many cosmetic options available that it was insane. But I can't even get a haircut. I could get a haircut and a shave in The Witcher 3. Can we please get a haircut? Nightvision. Why is Nightvision not a thing with the Kiroshi optics? Why is that most basic of optical enhancements not a standard with those optics? You would think that would be something they would do. I mean, the game looks gorgeous with RTX enabled. It's very atmospheric, but it is occasionally a tad on the dark side. And yes, you could use your scanner to find things in the dark, but basic night vision would be nice. Or a flashlight. And I don't even mean a flashlight you carry, because that would make no sense. I'm talking maybe a flashlight actually embedded in my forehead or in my eyes. I'd like my eyes to do full beam. It wouldn't be as useful or as tactical as night vision, but it would be bloody cool. Yes, it would. It would also be useful when trying to loot things in the dark. But failing that, night vision. And we know we've got thermal vision in the game. We see it in the brain dances. In fact, if memory serves me right, didn't somebody say that the Kiroshi optics actually had thermal vision for one particular person at one point in the game? I may be remembering that incorrectly, but we know there's thermal vision. Bit of night vision. That would be nice. Okay, so that's 10 things, but I hate top 10 lists, so I'm going to add another. I've got a few other things here that like more of a wish list thing, not rather than a complaint. I tell you what, I would have liked it if we'd had more than one voice option for the different genders. The voice for the male, for example, was really appropriate for my Nomad, but it's not what I imagined for my other characters, and it would have been nice had there been some options. I do appreciate, though, that's probably a hell of an overhead. You need to get different voice actors in and do the exact same lines, and there are a lot of them, and then implement them. So I do understand that is what I would consider less of a complaint and more of a wish list. It's just the voice is really quite important in forming the character to me, and I've got several ideas of characters I would love to play, but the voice just does not match them at all. So different voices would have made a more replayable experience. So there you go, that's my 11th. So that is basically it. That is my negative feedback, and I do appreciate the video has been somewhat long and involved an awful lot of what some of you will describe as bitching and whining, but I did want to go into details on these issues and make sure I'd covered them so that you understood where I was coming from, that this is not just random complaints jumping on the hate train. And I do want to reiterate, I still thoroughly enjoyed this game. I'm still playing it. I'm planning a third playthrough, and I'm probably going to record that one too. So this is still a great game for me. It's just I can't help but compare it to the last game CD Projekt Red made, which was of course The Witcher 3, and I described that game as the best game I'd ever played. This game does not quite reach those lofty heights, I'm afraid. It is great, I did enjoy it, but I felt it lacked a little polish. I felt that perhaps it hadn't been tested enough, that some of the systems could have been balanced better, some of them could have been more fleshed out, and overall I think it needed a little while longer in the cooker to be, properly done. Again, let me reiterate, at its core, thoroughly enjoyed the game, definitely going to be playing it more, looking forward to the DLC and the patches. These are just the things that I think would have made the game an awful lot better.